Chicken to eat mail. Chicken to eat. Oh shit. Record. Why, hello, and welcome to issue 598 of Geek in the City Radio. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Duran.
I'm one of your other hosts, Bean Rita.
And I am your other host, Cable Hashtani.
And we have our guest, our back.
Hello.
Hey.
Greg.
Wait, has it been a month yet?
No.
Time is meaningless now.
I've heard that time is a flat circle, but no, we've
time
got.
has been meaningless for a year.
That's true.
It's
I've
been
heard
meaningless
time
for a
is a
lot
let's
longer than
pretzel.
that.
That's what I heard.
But it's been a week. It's been,
No, don't. You stop it.
Time is Jeremy Baramy.
Yes,
Yes.
and being that it's Tuesday, it's the little dot.
Mm-hmm.
You kids, you lost me on that one.
You still haven't
Really?
watched The Good Place?
Oh, I have. Why did I not remember that?
No.
I don't know.
My-
Watch it again.
Well, my brain.
Watch it harder.
I only
Retain-
remember,
retain.
like, I haven't finished the final season of it, but
Oh.
I keep remembering Jeremy Baramy sporadically. Like, I think I'm conditioned to only remember it during certain times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now it's coming back to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like everyone else here, it has been an odd few days, I believe. So.
Mhm.
So we have got a packed show.
Mm-hmm.
Greg and I are going to bore all of you as we nerd out over Ravenloft.
Sure.
Yeah, look at it, it's so pretty.
Isn't that
I'll
a
be
pretty
joining in
book?
with. I'll be joining in enthusiastically, going, "Oh, look at this! Oh, look at this! Did you know
Yes.
this? Oh, there's this thing!"
Ghost Train.
And telling feelings about it more so than like nitty gritty, because that's Greg's deal. I'm all about, look at this neat thing. This is shiny. Let's go here. Whee!
Yeah, that's how I had run games too. Plus some Lego stuff and some movie trailer talk and the Bad Batch. And oh man, packed show. Lots going on. Good times. Great
Let's
oldies.
jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to jump into first?
I say give the book its due. It is the release day for Von Richten's Talk About It.
Yeah, here it
Yeah.
is. And we both clearly have bought the they just call them alt covers, Cable.
Yeah.
This is it's
pre-order.
referred to as the hobby store cover, alternative
Oh.
art cover. It is only available to brick and mortar stores.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's
you
kinda
cannot
cool.
buy it on Amazon. If you're buying it anywhere on the internet, it's because it's being sold by a reseller, and fuck them.
Right.
Spirit board.
The last
Mhm.
page has a
Gorgeous.
beautiful spirit board, which I can't wait to see nerdy folk with 3D printers making spirit boards based off of that.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
they're gonna happen.
And the
It'll-
planchette to match. Gorgeous.
I love the planchettes. I
Also,
saw
if
earlier today.
you'll notice, I don't know if the planchette says it, the page of the planchette on the front or whatever. We're just doing this here. Yeah, it doesn't. But if you look at the spirit board page in the back, right up against the spine on the inside, it says Wizards grants permission for you to photocopy this for the game use.
Yes. Awesome.
I think even in the book they say like copy it, print it out, put it on a piece of particle board, and
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Permission is granted to photocopy this page for personal use.
Yeah.
Can I put it on a mug? I want to put
If
it on a
it's-
mug.
If it's your personal mug, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think as long as you don't sell it, you can have.
That's it. Mhm.
Fine. It'll be my personal mug.
It's like how you're not allowed to like print up copies of 5th edition character sheets and then sell them.
Yeah.
You can print them all you want. You just then can't like I'm selling my D&D sheets for $1 for
Well,
$5.
Yeah. And why would you? That's yeah.
Why would you do that?
Anyway.
Anyone who would know and know what that is and want it should have equal access to getting their own, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the character sheets are available on the Wizards of the Coast website for free to download and print. So
there was
Yeah.
a time when that was a viable business.
that is true.
Mm.
When the
But
only
no longer the case.
photocopiers were an office store or your school.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Don't forget
Okay.
about work.
Yeah.
In my day, we just used grid paper and drew all of our. Oh God, we did, and it was tedious as hell.
Grid paper though.
I know.
But let's talk about the book.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
right. Sorry, Greg. Thanks for keeping us on task.
That's a surprise.
Yeah.
Um,
So right out the
how
gate.
do we want to do this? Do we want to do like a chapter kind of overview, or just our favorite parts? What do you
We
think?
could do a quick chapter. I don't want to spend like fucking an hour on the book.
No,
but-
neither do I.
Because
I mean,
you can.
I do, but I
Oh,
know
I
that
could.
there's more to talk about in the show. So, whoa.
So let's start with a introduction / overview of the book. Which one of you wants to do it? Because you're already like super. Both of you are super ready. So decide between the two of you who's going to introduce the book.
Well, I'll introduce it. How's that?
Go ahead.
All right. So Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft brings back the classic Ravenloft setting. Everyone knows, like, started as an adventure module, the most popular module D&D ever did, blah, blah, blah. And in 1992, it became its own setting. That one right there. And it became its most popular and best-selling setting for a few years. But like so many other things at TSR, it flooded the market and it died, and bad business decisions. And now WotC owns D&D. Anyway, Ravenloft has been one of the settings that I think players have wanted to come back ever since like 5th edition was announced, kind of thing. Like it was going to be Forgotten Realms and blah, blah, blah. They did kind of a soft launch with Curse of Strahd, a complete revamping of the original Ravenloft game, and it's fantastic. And that did feel kind of like a test drive to be like, okay, can we pull off the whole domain? The big difference with Ravenloft now is it's no longer, it's still like, the demiplane of dread, and it still kind of floats in the middle of nothing as part of the Shadowfell. But it's no longer like this connection of lands of this one continent where each domain is like somehow fits together to make this one standard looking map. Now each domain is basically its own little pocket with different themes. The original Ravenloft game was 100% fantasy and gothic horror. And the writers of the new Ravenloft book have understood that our horror tastes have changed. So every subtype of horror is explored in these domains in one form or another. You've got gothic horror, fantasy horror, but then you've got cosmic horror, body
Slasher.
horror, folk horror. So it really plays with all the different types of horror, and sets up the DM and the players to kind of pick what type of horror game they want to play in. And that's really its starting point.
Yeah.
The other big difference of Ravenloft, especially this version, that they mention, like in the first few pages, they say like your characters are the quote the heroes, but they're not like your typical D&D hero. No one is pulled into Ravenloft if they have a good soul. Like that's kind of the point. They're like, your characters are good, but none of them are perfect. If they were perfect, they wouldn't be here. And that's kind of the tone of the entire book. So I think the first chapter also deals with like some character creation stuff.
Yep. There's a good introduction, and it begins with character creation. It has some new options for lineages, and what I like about that is that they have 3 options that were available in the Unearthed Arcana a few months back: the Dhampir, the Hexblood, and the Reborn, which is
I'm
kind of
really
weird.
excited about these.
Yeah.
So
there's
very cool.
The Dhampir is a vampire light. Hexblood is hag light, and Reborn is like undead light. But what's cool is you can have options that either let you start your character like that, but in the course of the adventure, if you somehow get into a bargain with a hag and become a Hexblood, it also tells you what you keep from your old race features, and what stays and what goes, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and you're actually given the option, if you want, if you change in one of these lineages, say a few levels in, either driven by story or whatever, it actually gives you the option to basically swap all of the lineage traits with your racial traits. So say you're playing like a drow, who for whatever reason ends up becoming a reborn. The player can decide how much of my drow do I want to keep, or do I want to just essentially your lineage becomes your race, for lack of a better term. So you'll still look like a drow, like you'll look like how you will, and you'll probably still think of yourself as a drow, but you are a reborn now. That is what you are. And reborns can also be constructs. They don't have to be undead, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also in that first chapter, there's some really neat background features. There's some general background that I thought was a cool thing, like general background. So you could just like, if you were going for kind of a spooky feel, but you didn't want it specifically tied in with Ravenloft or a Domain of Dread, they have options for like, oh, you can take these aspects and still be a sailor, but now it's a haunted sailor. You can still be a sage, but now it's a sage that's seen some shit.
Yeah.
And now instead of just a sage, you're like a paranormal investigator or whatever. So like that was cool.
And then they created some of their own original backgrounds that go pretty deep. Stuff where like you can have like a past life that literally intrudes while you're playing to potentially positive or negative effects, which is awesome. One of the reborn options, again, it's not like you're undead, you're a type of a construct, but you wake up missing like, say, like your right arm and your left leg, replaced with like the phantom limb of whatever soul was also put in your body. So they've gotten real creative with these lineages and backgrounds and stuff. They've given, and none of them are designed for a character to min-max. In fact, Ravenloft is very much designed not to allow that kind of play. It's all to make the better story. This setting is so story driven. I'd say more than any of the settings before. That's the point of Ravenloft.
Yeah, and they do a really good job talking about like, hey, here are steps to make horror, and here's like, that there's talk in the book about consent with the other players and knowing where those hard lines are, so that everyone is getting scared because they want to be, but still having fun and never feeling uncomfortable as a player.
It's that same thing. Like, hey, Bill, we'll all recognize this. Like, when you work a haunted house, there is a level of consent the attendee is giving by entering that haunted house. They wish to experience fear, but in this safe manner. The book is written in such a way, and it reminds the DM, you're here to scare the characters, not the players. And they really drive that home. They're like, if you know a character or a player is deathly afraid of spiders, it's actually not cool to use a lot of spider motifs because you want to make the player afraid. You don't want to do that. You want the character afraid, and that encourages the player to act it out. They really drive that point home over and over again.
Yeah.
The main section of the book is chapter 3, the domains of Ravenloft. And it's so good. The maps are beautiful.
Yeah.
The each main domain is really cool, and like they talk about like the nature of the mists and how to use them in creative ways, because in this realm, for those that are unfamiliar, the borders of each of these domains is surrounded by mists, and there's things in the mists, and the lords of the domain can kind of control if the mists will allow someone to pass through or not. And and so each one is kind of encapsulated in surrounded by these never ending mists that you get. And so So they go into more detail on that and how you can use it almost as a character in and of itself, which is kind of cool.
Oh
Because
yeah,
inevitably your players are going to be like, I've had enough of this. Let's get out of here. There's the edge. Let's go.
Let's just ask please screen share. Yeah, if Greg wants to hold up one of the maps, maybe. I don't know. Screen share.
Yeah, so I've got a map of Barovia here.
It's kind of hard, yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
little difficult.
I don't know if Wizards has released any images of the maps
Yeah.
themselves online.
But
Yeah.
while we're showing and telling, the beginning of chapter 3 has one of my favorite images that I found so far.
Oh yeah, Victor
Yeah.
Mordenheim.
Yeah.
You've got a headless creation, and then in the background there are 3 adventurers' heads in jars.
And this creation is stitched together, and there are these like big bold stitches. There's sigils on it, or sigils. I can never,
Yeah.
whatever. And like just all of these bits and pieces from clearly different people, beings, etc. The feet are purple and fuzzy. They,
It's cool.
Maybe
some tabaxi got taken apart.
I read her chat. I read the chapter on Lamordia, and one of the Dark Lords, one of her main powers is she can pretty much brain swap anybody she wants without like just go.
So
Although, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, each one of these domains is super detailed, gives a great overview for DM to like really get the feel of what's happening in this world and how to best like make it a terrifying and interesting landscape for the players. But what I like, and I've heard other people talk about this and do reviews and stuff, and in each of these domains of dread there is a singular, or sometimes there's a couple, Dark Lord that is basically, this is a prison for them, and this is their lament, and this is, but it's kind of this devil's bargain of like they have control of this realm in some way, but they are never happy because there's this thing that is unattainable or what have you. And so it talks about each of these dreadlords or dark lords, and there's no stat blocks for them though. And some people have been like, oh, I wanted a stat block, but like if you have a stat block for a creature, then you can kill it. And these dark lords are tied to the land so much that you can't kill them in a way that's meaningful. So it's okay if it's like, well, use the mummy lord stat block for this dreadlord and just swap out a couple of these powers versus having like their own little stat block. But like it's not really necessary because you're never gonna defeat them permanently.
Right. I think it also encourages DMs and players. One of the things that used to hamper Ravenloft back in the day is it was always, let's go face the Dark Lord. Like, that's not the point of it. Yeah. Also, you're going to lose almost every single time.
Throw yourself against the wall again. See?
Yeah. They've done a very good job of modernizing almost everything. So Ravenloft, like so many old role-playing games and really any older media, had a lot of problematic issues with it. And Ravenloft this book has worked very hard to remove those. Like the original Ravenloft, basically their version of Hakir, it's their version of Egypt, basically. Mm-hmm. And their mummy, is ruled by Octopo. But in the original Ravenloft, it was essentially Karloff with all the British imperial colonizing threads throughout it. I mean, look, I love Karloff and I love the mummy. That's not a comment. In this one, they no, it's still it's still very much, inspired by some Egyptian lore and legends. It's still Octopus as the first mummy, but it's not, they've now like removed all the kind of colonial trappings. It's in a weird way, the Dark Lords have more agency over the culture that they are trapped within / oppressing, if that makes sense.
It's theirs to oppress, not
Yeah.
not anyone else.
Not so many pith helmets.
Yeah, right. There's definitely a more gender balance of the Dark Lords, which I appreciate a lot. I know a lot of old school Ravenloft fans were like, well, how come Victor Mordenheim is now Victra Mordenheim? I'm like, what do you care? Plus, it's your game. If you want to find a reason why Victor Mordenheim's no longer around and it's this other descendant, go for it. There's a story to be told there if you really want. Something else I actually very much appreciate, it always bugged me about every incarnation of Ravenloft until now. Everyone who lives there kind of knows that their life sucks.
Yes.
Like there's no longer like, oh, we don't know what lies beyond the mist. Well, everyone who lives in this domain, like that, yeah, they know. Like fucking death lives there.
Wait, you're saying that like in the old Ravenloft, the local people didn't get that.
Yeah, they were always kind of like, they don't understand the darkness they live within. Like, depending on the theme of the domain, they know exactly what they're living in.
Yeah, like Barovians all know that ancient castle is Castle Ravenloft, and it belongs to Count Strahd von Zarovich, who is ancient, who is the land. But
yeah, like every previous version of Ravenloft, it was always written like, oh, the people of Barovia are superstitious, and they just assume that there has always been a von Zarovich in that castle ruling them, and it's their descendants and their stand. In this version, they're like, no, we know he's a fucking vampire lord, and there's not a goddamn thing we can do about it.
Yeah.
We avoid him if we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't,
you know what?
He doesn't bother to hide who he is anymore. He's like, yes, I am your vampire lord and master.
Yeah, and it's like in that realm specifically, they talk about how he is prevalent, that he can make his image appear in like the clouds overhead, just like his face looming down, if he chose. And you know what? He chooses to often. So, so yeah, that bit of like, whoa, we don't know what's happening is gone. It's just like, yes, it's horrible. Have some wine instead, which is kind of nice.
And the rare characters or denizens who have traveled to maybe one or two other domains, like the domain of Falkovnia is just fucking awful now. See, the original Ravenloft, the ruler was basically based on Vlad Tepes, like constantly at war with his people, always trying to conquer other lands, always doomed to fail. They've kind of flipped that on its head, and now it's Victra Falkov now runs Falkovnia. Still a hyper 100% fascist militaristic state, because at every new moon at the beginning of the month, the mists drop and hundreds of thousands of zombies just raid every town. So Falkovnia exists for one thing: to survive that one night every single month, and they don't care how many of their own people they have to kill to do it. Yeah.
I've heard that specific domain. I've heard others be like, you could run a pretty good Attack on Titan game with that, because there's just one giant fortified city left, basically. And so I thought that was kind of a clever way to use some of the material in here. But let's talk real quick about those mists one more time. Something that they added that I believe is new that I thought was really cool is, if you want to get from one realm to another, you now need a talisman from that place. So you are barred entry by the mists unless you have something from this other place. And so now there's vendors, and there are a few people that can travel through the mists through various means. One particular person I was excited to see again, Lady Isold, made an appearance in this
She
book.
is very different now from how I remember her.
Yeah, but she's still really, really cool. And
There's actually a picture also of Lady Snowmane in the book.
oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
But so now there's kind of a for adventurers and other folks, maybe people that are desperate and are like, you know, all my family were eaten by vampires. There's nothing left for me here. There's now kind of a market of like, well, we sell in baubles that can get you to a different place.
Yeah.
It's not any better than this place. It's a different terrible though. And maybe that's all we need.
So like when I was mentioning the domain of Falkovnia, so the Mist Talisman's required that would let you get into Falkovnia. Arms marked with the Blood Falcon. The Blood Falcon is the crest of Falkovnia. But some of the things are just like a bloody spearhead or correspondence from the city of Lakar, which is a city that's always being assaulted. So someone who sent a letter saying, help me, or just a sample of zombie flesh.
Right.
You literally use it as a beacon that lets you be drawn to that domain. It's a really cool idea.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of potential in this to run various types of horror games, and I'm super excited. There's a domain that lets you basically tell environmentalism horror stories. The domain of just imagine a domain if a mage was just allowed to do whatever they wanted, experiment however they wanted, not care what it did to the land. Like that's this one domain now. You know, like imagine if we let all of like our Elon Musk just do what they want without any kind of environmental control at all. Like what would we be like in 20 years?
Don't compare that ass hat to a mage.
I went somewhere else with that. I automatically went to Wizards' other property that they own, Magic the Gathering, and thought of Yawgmoth.
Yeah.
And or not Yawgmoth, Phyrexia.
Okay.
Very much so.
Yeah.
In fact, if you flip through that book cable, when they get to that domain, there's this worm that comes out of the ground. It will look a lot like that.
Great.
Yeah. I actually haven't gone all the way through yet. I just got to the chapter on building your own domains, and I kind of flipped through the monsters, and I just chuckled because I remember monsters from when I was in high school. I'm like, oh, look, the Death's Head tree. Those are so much fun.
Well, before I wanted to point out one section here, chapter 4 in this.
That's what I have open too, and was waiting my turn for.
Oh,
is
okay.
Incredible.
Yes.
But you go for it, Ida.
All right, so I know the guys were talking about earlier there's a really strong undercurrent of consent and making sure that the horror is about putting the characters through horror, not about putting your player through horror.
Yeah.
So chapter 4 is called Horror Adventures, and it covers, understanding horror, preparing for it, doing a content survey, and like with content themes and questionnaires, like all this stuff for your session 0 to make sure that you're not just like getting together a bunch of people who want to do like a happy fun, dungeon delve, and you drop them in the middle of their worst nightmare. Making sure everybody's down for it. And it's just a really thoughtful and thorough and straightforward way to assess everybody's interest and make sure that everyone's on the same page, get everything together, and really just like set it up for maximum fun, maximum efficiency, maximum horror. And it's something that I really appreciated about this.
And what I really like about chapter 4 especially is the horror toolkit for any DM that wants to have, like, maybe you don't want to run an entire horror campaign, but maybe like your players go into a haunted house or something, and you just want a bit of it.
Right.
In it, they talk about curses, how you can lay curses, how you can have components of it, how you can have a lasting, meaningful curse that isn't just like dispelled by a restoration spell or something like that.
Right.
But and so there's a whole section on like, hey, here are the aspects to make a really meaty curse that can be impactful and can be a core part of the game or a core part of a character's arc.
As well as their fear and stress is another one.
That was what I was going to talk about next. You want to go for it, Ida?
Yeah. So
do it. I love it. I love it.
So using these, there's a chart you can go off of for seeds of fear that you can really that just lets you build into your character something that is super, just immediately hooks anything. Like it's a really nice.
Just for example, there's being followed chills my blood. I'm terrified of a particular kind of animal, or I hate being stuck in tight spaces. I can't be comfortable around creatures larger than me. These are all just these are seeds of fear that you can give your character that are rooted in real, honest to goodness fears that as a player you can use as an awesome springboard to really play up aspects. Keep going.
A little touchstone for how you react to a scenario. And with the stress thing, look, being an adventurer is stressful. And I don't think that we often appreciate how stressful it is. In Ravenloft, it's even more stressful because, quite frankly, look, if you're playing a Ravenloft game, you're not looking for a happy ending. You're not going to get it generally. You're going to get
happy enough.
Yeah. It's hey, at least I didn't die too horribly. And that's great. That's the best you're getting. And you're telling a great story along the way. But having these stressors is I lost all my words, but I just the stress, it's not a table, but there's little thoughts of what's this, what's this moment, where can you draw the stress out on this? It's really built to help the DM make sure that they are pardon me, that they're playing all the right notes.
Well, what's cool on a mechanical level about it is the Seeds of Fear gives you an opportunity as a DM to be hey, you're playing your fear. You get inspiration, which is something that I, as a DM, sometimes have a problem. Inspiration is a really cool tool that I think is underused in 5th edition. It's basically you do something rad or do something that's it's supposed to be a reward for role playing that basically gives you a free one-time advantage on any role you want. And then when you use it, you lose it. And the idea is, but you're going to keep role playing awesomely and gain it back again. So being able to have a seed of fear that also is oh, hey, you're acting on your seed of fear. You get inspiration. That's a great transaction at the table for the players and the GM. And then the stress can be keyed off of a player using their seed of fear, and then the stress can be tracked numerically as a stress score, increasing when situations are trying and decreasing when people have long rests and aren't just in a tense situation. And what that stress score can do is basically it's a cumulative penalty when characters make attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws. So if you add stress to your game, that, the higher the tension, the more you're stacking on those the stress points, it starts eating away at your natural bonuses that you get for your proficiency, for your strength and stuff. It just starts eating away at that slowly. And the more you push and the more stressful the situation gets, suddenly you're your +5 bonus whenever you roll a D20 might start becoming a -1 or -2 penalty because of all the crazy shit you've seen, and you haven't rested and you haven't stopped and you haven't slowed down because there's zombies behind you, and they're not the slow zombies, they're the fast ones. And how that all can ramp up the tension at the game without ramping up a person's actual tension, a player's actual tension. It's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah.
Really clever. I like it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I want to touch on before we will have to move on, sadly,
Yeah.
is in that same chapter towards the end, they've added something called survivors.
Yes.
I'm glad you're
And
talking about this.
This is really cool. This was in one of the old Ravenloft books a long time ago, and they dropped it. But so survivors are like the everyday people you see in a horror movie. You know, they're like the first cop on the serial killer's crime scene. They're the final girl that doesn't have any real powers, but it's the final girl. And the game is set up that if you want to really play a tough game, if you want to, you can play as a group of these survivors. They have just generic stats. Literally, the final girl is one of the pictures they use.
Yeah.
They're just and when you're playing these kind of characters, like a skeleton is deadly. But the other really great potential of this new version called the Survivors, Ravenloft focuses a lot on like dramatic scenes, using dreams played out. That can get kind of boring if you're not the person dreaming, if you're other players at the table. What the survivors, what that system does is the other players can play elements in that player's dream. They can be like the shopkeeper who was there when all this shit went. So like you can play the shopkeeper. That also gives you the potential of, in traditional adventure games and even in Ravenloft, the players are the ones who usually are brought in because something has happened. Something horrible has happened. You can use the survivor mechanic, and almost like a 0.5 session, you can play out the horrible thing that happened and then jump to the players who are now going to investigate it.
The heroes that are investigating, or conversely, because the survivor, it only goes to level 3, and you get minimal stuff. You can get kind of sort of feats that can give you something like an adrenaline surge or a desperate scream or sacrificing shield. Like these are little things you can get as you level up in this special survivor mode, the survivor play style. But it only goes to level 3. So if your character does survive and becomes, makes it through, well, then using those talents that you got, you could then make a 3rd level character, and this can be your background. You made it out of the haunted house alive, and you were the only one to do so. And now, you hate this particular ghost or whatever, and you're after him. But like, you could have a game that anyone that's, is the last survivors, if it's 1 or 2 people, or if it's, if everyone's awesome and they all survive, you could then be like, okay, and now you're all 3rd level. Let's make 3rd level characters as, a fighter and a wizard and whatever. Yeah. And you've got this really robust shared story that everyone is a part of now.
Yeah, you can
as their background.
Yeah, and I already see it, like the way the game is designed. You're all these survivors, and say you're not gonna make it, but Ravenloft, this book has these lineages, so you're all about to die, but then you all receive something, and it would be the player's choice. But it's like Bean, as your character is feeling the last of her life come out of her body. She hears this woman whisper in her ear that says, "I can keep you alive if you want to be one of my children." Because say you wanted to play a Hexborn, that's how you work it in. One of your characters dies, but you want to play as a Reborn. You literally come out of the grave with no memory of what happened to you, but you're that same character. So you could tie these lineages in with the survivor if you really want to play that storytelling element.
It's really, really neat. I love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, this book just keeps coming back to the story element, and it's a real strong supplement. It's a real strong book. Get it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're muted, Cable.
I have a question, and that is, is there a particular level of player level, not the player character, but if I'm playing D&D and I've been playing for years, is this book right for me? Is it right for my group? Or if I'm just now jumping into D&D for the first time, do I want to start with Ravenloft?
If you like horror and you think your players and your friends would enjoy horror, then yeah, I think in terms of the game itself, it's no more advanced. I think it requires slightly more advanced storytelling.
Okay.
And I think that comes
Yeah.
more with age. Like, I can't imagine being 12 and running a good Ravenloft game. Like, you're just at least not a fair one. Maybe me
you
at
haven't
12.
seen horrors yet when you're 12. And if
I
you
have.
have, this is not the place for you because you should maybe go somewhere else.
Okay, maybe me at 12
Therapy.
could have had fun. But
I think too, if you've seen horrors at 12, D&D is the least of the things that you're interested in.
Right? Like,
right.
Probably.
But I would say that, yeah, it's definitely more for people who are more into stronger storytelling stuff than just, I move forward and I stab.
I stab, get gold, come back, get rich, get
This
drunk.
doesn't, yeah,
Need
this
more
doesn't
gold,
sound
stab,
like
stab.
it's the. It doesn't sound like it's the setting for murder hobos.
No, there's nothing against murder hobos. Sometimes I just want to go clear out a dungeon and not think about the ethics of it.
Mhm.
But other times I want to tell a really weird, messed up story with my friends.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say, man, this year Wizards has been kind of knocking it out of the park with the D&D books. They're kind of 3 for 3 with me digging it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's been, this is the most recent. Before this was Candlekeep Mysteries, and before that was Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
All fantastic books.
Yeah.
I definitely think that this book is set up in a really coherent way so that if you are new to the genre or new to the table, it's very easy to pick up and it's very easy to utilize, and it's done so in a way that's like, I don't know where to go for this, or I don't know where to go for that. I will say there is no index, which has Wizards hasn't been adding indexes to some of their books, which I like. I appreciate an index.
I do,
but
I do too. But even the indexes they do have are not very good.
Yeah,
the Player's Handbook index is awful.
Oh well, that was granted. That was almost 6 years ago.
I know.
Anyway, but if you're going to play, just like Ida said, if your interest is in telling a spooky, weird story, this is a must-have book.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you are, if this is old hat or if this is your new hot jam, this is a must-have book if that's the sort of story you want to tell. If it isn't the sort of story you want to tell, and you're not interested in that, and your players at the table have no interest in scary stuff, then it's very pretty. It's a very pretty book. And there's some cool monsters in the back that you might be able to use. But ultimately,
otherwise there's other games you could play, other campaigns you could run.
So Bex just made a comment in the chat that is worth addressing. They said that they've been wanting to do a DM horror story. Haven't been a DM before, but this makes them really want to. So this would be first time as a DM. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think this is absolutely a book you should pick up if it's your first time DMing. There are excellent tips and tricks that will really create an excellent scaffolding to tell the story you want to tell.
And there's a really good balance between it makes no assumptions that you already know what you're doing DMing, but it also doesn't keep harping on you about stuff. It's got a really good layout for new DMs. I think that you could absolutely pick this book up and run an adventure with it, no problem.
Yeah. The other thing that helps, I think, especially if you're a new DM with Ravenloft as a rule discourages the use of random encounters or encounters for encounter's sake. So every encounter your players get into in one form or another, you have crafted. It is part of the story. It's not to say that the players are like on a railroad type storytelling, unless they're on the actual train.
Yeah, yeah, the ghost train. I love the
Oh, Ghost Train.
But with its emphasis on heavy storytelling, I think if you're comfortable with the horror genre, it's not a bad place to start DMing.
Yeah.
Not to say you don't have to know the rules, but you don't have to know them as well. If that makes sense, like.
Yeah, it's relying
I mean,
on story so much that if you flub a rule, you can kind of just go, moving on
I mean,
with the
if-
story. And
Yeah, I
it's
think
not-
that's
Okay.
very much an answer to the
Yeah.
question. Is like,
Yeah.
is
I
this a good type of not just the horror element, but like just like the Ravenloft and the mechanics itself? Is it good
Like-
for someone who's never DM'd before? And it definitely
Mhm.
sounds like the answer.
Yes.
I'd say yes.
That being said, still get the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Hmm.
There's a lot of really good information in that.
Yeah.
That it's an excellent source that I feel like people that have it are just like, oh yeah, let's look at the magic items section and then like ignore the other 2/3 of the book. And there's such good information in it.
Yeah,
So,
there really is. Yeah, so there, we're giving it all
Yeah.
every thumb up we can,
boom.
and a couple of tentacles.
Yep.
What shall we move on to? Other than breaking news?
Oh
I
yeah,
heard-
so I shared this because it was relevant to Greg and Ida. If of recent interest, Norm in the chat shared that Attack the Block 2
Oh, cool.
is coming to a screen near you
That's
because John Boyega just announced it on his Instagram.
Awesome.
And you guys just
Wow.
watched that the other night, right?
We actually didn't end up getting to.
Oh.
So we have it. We're gonna sit down and watch it maybe tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, a couple things. It got announced yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's not just John Boyega returning. It is also the writer director of the original Attack the Block is also returning.
Which is
Very cool.
So
Yeah, this was the first I was hearing about it, so I was excited. That's a really fun movie.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I think it was definitely the movie that I watched and went, oh, I'm gonna keep an eye on this John Boyega kid because he's going to be someone. He's going.
Oh,
to be
did you see
someone
it a couple years ago?
I saw it, I think, the year after it came out.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never heard about it, so I saw it when I guess it came out on Netflix like
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah, I saw it back then, and that's why I knew when like he was cast in Star Wars. I'm like, there it is.
Yeah, I think I saw it because it was like some kind of monster movie, and I'm a Nick Frost fan, so I was like, oh,
Mhm.
Nick Frost is in this kind of cool, low budget kind of horror sci-fi thing. I'll watch that, and then you see John Boyega, and you're like, God damn,
Yeah, that was incredible screen presence, is what that
Yeah.
kid has.
yeah.
He was
And
really,
the
really
mon-
good at it.
And then when you find out like how much they spent making it and what they did to create the creatures in it, fucking A. That's
Oh,
some
yeah?
smart filmmaking.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
What'd they do?
Watch it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got to watch it.
Watch it, then
Yeah.
we'll
Okay.
talk.
A lot
Okay,
of
okay.
lot of really good in-camera tricks.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Gee, if we have to have you back again so you can give us a review of Attack the Block, oh, that would just be the worst.
Oh man. And if we had a hard deadline on it, we wouldn't keep going, oh yeah, I'll do that in a minute.
Well, hold on. We're all full of ideas and no plans here. What you want to do is you want to set up a date to watch the movie shortly before Attack the Block 2 comes out so you can talk about it, review it, and then be that much more excited when the next one comes out soon after. And then we do it again after.
That's like in 2 years, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Just watch it now.
Yeah. You say announcing a movie, that means it's they gotta make it still, you know?
Yeah.
We'll watch it and then we'll do the rewatch and everything closer to and get super amped and maybe even all get to go together to see it in theaters or something.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Oh, that's
Also, total random sidebar, kind of connected back with the Ravenloft thing.
Yeah.
We need to find a way. There's that new Ravensmore bar that opened in Portland, the haunted house bar.
Yeah.
We've got to find a way to like get paid to run like a bi-weekly Ravenloft game there.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that's just
We could figure something out.
I think the first things that we can do is actually just
Go to the-
patronize the bar and help it succeed.
Yeah.
yes.
I would
before
very happily
attaching
just
anything
start
that-
with that. Yes.
I'm just job hunting right now, so I'm trying to find.
That's fair. Not everything.
By the way, I'm job hunting everyone. So
Yes.
Aaron,
But
Aaron's
not
in
everything
home
has
mode.
to be a hustle.
yeah.
Some things you can do because you enjoy them. Some things you can do them because it's part of the community.
Why not
This is
both?
because that's capitalism talking,
That's right.
Well, that's having to help with rent talking.
which is still part of capitalism talking. Hey,
Yeah.
I digress. I'm going to get back into my whole fucking normal speech, and I don't want to do that. So. But yeah. Yes, help Aaron find something that he can get paid to do that he doesn't hate himself for.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be
That was
awesome.
great.
As soon as
Anyway.
I find it, as
Huh?
soon as I can find such a thing.
Right.
If something
Okay.
comes up with Guardian, I will let you know, Aaron.
Yay. Well, what should we move on to now?
Do we want to talk movies or Legos?
Let's do Legos.
let's
So
do
we're
Legos.
getting to
Okay.
give us more games.
So I'm gonna put a link to this in the.
Well, here, I'll
YouTube
set it up
chat.
to you can share if you'd like.
Ooh, yeah, let's try that.
Okay, there you go. You should be able to share now if you would like.
Okay, let's see what I can do here.
If not, I'll click the link and hit the share for folks that can.
Okay, I thought
That
you
way,
were
people
ready.
on the YouTube. Ah, hey!
So this has been rumored for about the past 3 months that Lego was introducing a creator level Marvel Comics set. And go ahead.
If it's creator, that means you can link it up with the other Creator Town stuff, huh?
It's actually, I'll get to that.
Okay.
So, and that's what they did. Yesterday, they put this out. This is the Daily Bugle.
So
It is
cool.
not. It is not tied to any specific movie or television show, and it is the largest set like this that they have created. It is the largest building that they have created. It is 4 stories tall, but each floor is like double in height than it normally is.
Wow.
And it comes with a whopping 25 minifigs.
There's so much going on here.
There's so much going on in this thing.
First of all, I just want to make sure I understood you correctly. When you
Mhm.
say, 4 stories, but double the usual, if you put it up next to a 1-story, or let's say like a 2-story Lego, a traditional 2-story Lego building, it would still be 4 times the height.
Yes, like if you put this against any of the other creator sets, they're usually about 3 stories tall.
Mhm.
This would stand another 2.5 stories taller than that.
Yeah, like the haunted house, which is part of the Creator series that I have, is just under 3 feet tall. And
Yep.
that's counting the tippy tip spire that you put on top.
And how many
General-
floors is that in the building?
It's a haunted house, so it technically has like 8 floors because it's got an elevator drop. So
Yep, because it's a ride.
it's a ride, yeah.
It's part of their fairground series.
Yeah.
So what I put up on the screen is an interior shot. So usually the floors on other buildings stop at around here where the magnifying glass is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so these are like double wide ceilings, so that way it feels like it's a giant building and giant office building. There's a main floor lobby, and then you've got the bullpen for the reporters.
Yeah.
Somehow Peter Parker got his own office on what seems to be an abandoned floor with a photocopier. What cracks me up is his office is a
As a-
goddamn meme.
What?
It's a Spider-Man meme from Spider-Man sitting at a desk with a picture of Spider-Man behind him.
Yeah.
It's a fucking meme. And they
That's-
did it on purpose.
I saw a comment when they released it. Someone said, like, why would you want to have a whole, like, what's the point of having like the copier room in this Lego build? And like the immediate comment was like, well, duh, so Doc Ock can break in and start a fight. Why else?
Right. That's what it's for.
Idiot. The
Um,
spider buggy.
Yes, that's like, it is full of things like this. It's like Spider Buggy is one of those things that if you were a kid in the 80s and had Mego action figures, Spider Buggy was what your Spider-Man figure drove around in, because that made sense.
Yep.
It could also climb walls, remember? It could
It
do
did.
whatever a spider buggy can.
And this one climbs the wall.
Yep.
Um, but the thing is,
Oh,
like,
there's Spider Gwen too.
yeah. So let me bring up the
Minifigs are ridiculous.
minifigs. This is the build. This is the build review. This is from the Brothers Brick, which is a great blog.
I almost want this. I don't collect any Lego superhero, but it's just so cool looking.
Yeah.
There's
So-
so
It
much
looks
going
like you get
on.
all of them in this set.
It's the photo
All
I
the
have up.
superheroes. Look at
That's
that.
all of them. So this is the first time we are getting Daredevil, Firestar,
Oh,
Punisher, and Blade.
That's
Wow.
what I thought it was. That's amazing.
This is, I think, the third or fourth Miles Morales,
Hmm.
Right.
the third Spider-Ham,
ham.
and the third Ghost Spider or Spider-Gwen.
I
So
love that Sandman. I don't think have they done Sandman like that before?
only once before.
Hmm.
And then
It's
he
great.
comes with an extra brick build that you can add on to. But yeah, the villains are classic Mysterio,
Yeah.
Black Cat, Carnage, and Venom, tying into our conversation about Venom earlier. Doc Ock with a completely new arm build that is amazing, and Green Goblin. And Green Goblin fits into the build as well. If you look at the, let me just scroll down to it. Everyone should also go to the Brothers Brick to read up on their review of the build, and then you get to see how it's built in stages. It's amazing.
Really
Oh,
cool.
that thing is big. Wow.
Yeah. So the action sequence with the Green Goblin is him breaking through like crashing out of the building. So all of these bits and pieces are just, they're still held on. But it's kind of amazing.
Kind of a freeze frame, like.
Exactly. Let's see. Spider-Man is normal. There's Peter Parker, Spider-Ham, Ghost Spider, and then also Gwen Stacy. So you get her civilian.
Mhm.
There's a new Miles Morales,
I dig that one.
Daredevil,
Hmm.
and this is part of the Sandman extra build.
That's cool.
Oh wow.
Yep. There's Frank Castle, the Punisher, which is not. This is not a minifigure I ever expected to see in Lego form ever.
No,
Yeah.
ever.
Blade,
That's awesome.
Firestar, who was only created for the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends television series, because they couldn't use Johnny Storm / the Human Torch.
Yep.
So they made Firestar.
Huh.
Black Cat.
Mhm.
These are the civilians. There's Benny the cab driver. What's this character's name? Ron Barney and Amber Grant, who runs the little newsstand. There's
Aw.
Aunt May with cookies.
Oh, we love cookies.
Yep. Oh, what else did she have?
I'm so glad they got Robbie.
Yep. Robbie Robertson,
Yeah.
Ben Urich, Betty Brant, J. Jonah Jameson. This is my favorite part. He's got a webbed up mouth and a purple
By the
Sharpie.
way, that Ben Urich just looks exactly like Bryan Cranston.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little
Well,
bit, yeah.
Breaking Bad Bryan Cranston.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here's the base with Sandman, and then you can attach him to this larger brick built base.
That's
that makes it look
cool.
like he's making
Cool.
a sand tornado.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Classic Mysterio, very classic looking Green Goblin,
Yeah.
Venom, Carnage, both have been produced before, so they're fine. But this is the amazing part, is the Doc Ock arms.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
So it's 4 pieces.
Oh yeah. So they move.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
That good squiddly.
Yep. They'll just
Mhm.
move in all different ways. So this piece right here,
Is that a new piece that they made specifically for
it's
this?
a piece that showed up in the DC Superheroes minifig line. They made those in clear, and they're designed to fit in the foot peg or the foot hole of a superhero. So it looks like they're flying or floating or running really fast.
Okay.
And they've been getting huge usage out of that. Ooh, I'm going to grab a thing.
I think I need to get some of those.
So here's piece usage of that. This is from the collectible mini series. This is or minifig series. This is the Beekeeper,
Mm-hmm.
but his smoker
Uh-huh.
is one of those bases on top
Oh.
of a mug.
Nice.
Oh shoot, that's cool.
This is why at nearly 50 I still love Lego.
You still have another 50 years to go before you're not allowed to play with them anymore.
49. It's 99
Well,
when you hit
it's-
99. Yeah.
Oh, it is. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep. Hence the memes of so many people saying they hit 100 years old and can't play with Lego anymore.
Mhm.
So yeah, this thing.
This thing is huge.
So you know the regular size base plates that they do for these.
Yeah.
I believe this actually takes. I'm trying to remember. I think it says it's a 48 by 48 stud instead of a 32 by 32 stud.
Wow.
Mm.
Let me-
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's makes it a bigger base plate, and it
And it's
looks
gonna-
like it. No,
it's gonna
it
be-
does say it's a standard 32 by 32.
Oh.
So that means it will fit in between any of your other creator.
Nice.
It goes on sale June 1st and will retail for $300.
Oh,
It is over 3,200 pieces.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Doesn't seem that expensive for its size, but I guess Lego pricings you can kind of figure out really easily. Like you multiply the pieces by a certain amount, or
So like the Brothers Brick is a Lego fan site, and they do reviews, and so Lego will send them things, and like that's how they have a copy of this months before, is that they were given permission to take it and build it and then review it, and they're never obligated to do so, but they're like, yeah, of course we are. That's
Right.
the instruction booklet.
yeah.
Wow.
It's almost a Montgomery Ward's catalog.
Wow.
But yeah, I think one of the things they said is they talked about how the piece per cost breakdown is like I forget what it is, but it like 18 or 19 cents, something like that.
Yeah.
They said whatever it is, based solely on the innovation in the builds and the creation of or the introduction of like 9 brand new minifigs, 7 of which are introductions for characters that we haven't seen before. This is well worth the $300.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
So I know it's going on my wish list.
I don't even get
Ooh.
excited about Spider-Man, but I want to build that.
That's
It
the thing. Like
it looks
yeah.
just like deeply but wonderfully challenging.
Mhm.
If you are a Lego VIP member, it goes on sale a week earlier.
Ooh.
It goes on sale on the 26th.
By the way, it literally costs you nothing to become a VIP member. So if you want it early,
Yep. So I think this is, it's already on my list, and I've been eyeballing my Marvel City to figure out where exactly that's going to go. And then how to make my Avengers Tower at least one more floor taller, so it's still taller.
yeah, for reasons, I had to be in Washington Square today for a little bit, and I can never help. I have to go to the Lego store whenever I'm there. And they were telling, I said, no, I did see it, but they couldn't quit like gushing about it. And they were super excited. And yeah, that's still a dangerous store to go to because they've got a good restock right now.
Oh, do they? Of course they do.
Yes, they do. And if you have a spare $1,000, they have the giant Star Destroyer back in.
Oh,
You know, the one that comes like in a 3x3 box, like a fucking a cube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, right there behind the counter.
wow.
Someone's gonna walk in and buy that thing right off the shelf.
Oh yeah, but you need a room for that thing, like literally a room to display it.
I'm going to stop sharing screen now. Click. There we go.
I feel like the Star Destroyer and the Tiamat minifig are in that same camp of like you you need.
How do you store that?
Yeah, like.
Well, I mean, how big is the finished piece?
It's usually like 6 feet long.
Star Destroyer one, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like 6 feet
Yeah.
long.
Like my whole dining room table.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
There's a reason that Lego collectors that are even more fanatic than I require an entire room in their homes that are nothing but Lego.
Although that would be like if you could hang that from the ceiling in a room after you created it, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be sweet. I did that with
That would be
my
Damocles'
bomber.
Star Destroyer.
But
is
the
what that
bomber's like this. Yeah, don't walk underneath of it.
Yep.
I would just look at it daily going, is today the day you're going to give way?
For some reason, we have lost the YouTube feed. Let's keep going. I might close the YouTube feed and relaunch it on our end.
Oh, no.
I'm wondering if screen sharing has something where YouTube goes, nope, how dare you?
No.
Could be.
No idea.
It might be
Rude.
Yeah.
processes it too much.
Or it could be them